Pirates of the Titanic present the Chernobyl catastrophe. One gloomy day in a wicked place called Chernobyl, there was a group of scientists investigating what happened during a chaotic event where a nuclear power plant had exploded, spreading a massive amount of radioactive materials. It was a group of 8 plus 2 other scientists who went on the journey ahead of time. Dr. Andrew Urias, Dr. Noemi Martinez, Dr. Daisy Cruz, Dr. Alma Olea, Dr. Noemi Zuniga, Dr. Mayra Torreblanca, Dr. Christian Yepes, Dr. Esmeralda Delgado, Dr. Nita Yang. Most of the buildings were either destroyed or strangely mutated. The group of 8 had decided to investigate some of the buildings that were still standing. Some of them being domes, and the destroyed buildings started to have a wavy aspect to them, especially the nuclear plant. Before they continued further in the infected field, the scientists were anxious to know the area and volumes of these buildings and how they were affected. The scientists continued observing the strange buildings, trying to figure out what caused so much damage, what type of radioactive materials did this. They were able to sketch a dome-like building and 2 other irregularly shaped sites. Other than the area, they wanted to find out volumes of the sites, to be able to determine the capacity of each building, to have an approximation of how many people got infected or had died in each building during the event. There were few people living in the area that were investigating on their own. It was a remote part of Russia, and many people died because of the catastrophe. They passed a group of exulting people who were in distress, saying something to them, but since none of them could speak Russian, they didn't know that the villagers were warning them not to enter because there were unknown figures further in. Their first mistake was to continue their journey in. They came into a room which had some working electricity lines, so the scientific team decided to split into smaller groups to be able to investigate more in depth about the architectural structures and mutations of the frightening destination. The group split into 2 groups of 4 individuals, being Drs. Yang, Yepes, Torreblanca, and Calderon, the second group being Dr. Martinez, Zuniga, Cruz, and Olea. The first group went to the east side of the nuclear power plant, having Dr. Yang in charge of the group. The second group had gone to the west side of the nuclear power plant in search for evolved species in need of help or cures. On their way to the west side of the nuclear power plant, the group realized that 2 of the scientists that went before them had been greatly affected by the catastrophe. The radiation had caused severe mutations on both Dr. Delgado and Dr. Urias. Although they did not die, they were very ill. After waiting there with them until dawn, the group was forced to leave them behind in order to continue with their journey. Dr. Cruz suggested that the groups find a human organ to find out the cause of the mutations. They agreed that the brain would give the most accurate results, so they embarked on their journey to find an organ that they were looking for. The East group picked up the distress call from their fellow scientists and immediately went into action. Dr. Martinez has informed them that 2 of their fellow scientists were affected and that the group had encountered some mutated people and that some of them were feeling effects of the radioactive air around them. Fearing the worst, the group had got into action and tried to reconnect with Martinez, but all hope was lost once the walkie-talkie started to become static. Dr. Zuniga saw how Dr. Martinez was mutating and how their body forms were drastically changing. Before she got infected, she sketched the form of the mutated body and decided to find the area of the infected portion of her body to be able to leave the signs and causes for a possible cure to the rest of the scientists. Shortly after, she started to feel nausea. Dr. Zuniga was barely able to finish the infected area equations when she dropped pale next to her colleague, Dr. Martinez. As Dr. Cruz and Olea watched this occur, they panicked as they didn't know what to do. After a couple of minutes, Dr. Martinez and Zuniga arose slowly, with a blank look in their eyes, as if their soul wasn't there. Cruz and Olea approached them slowly to kindly help their colleagues who were lifeless and empty. yelled Dr. Cruz. Zuniga struck with a bite on her neck. Dr. Olea tried to escape, but the speed of Martinez was too swift, and Olea was down. The west side of group had no healthy survivors left.